us.
I know.
Streaming is on.
Woo! Yeah, I know everybody out there always waits for that voice to come on because it connotates that it's Friday and we've got the world from here. We're excited to be here this morning. We've got some big news and very excited to be here with the two gentlemen that are here every Friday and have been here for a year now. And starting with Mr. Tim Vasco, who's the Chief Executive Officer and founder of BCERT Blockchain. Good morning to you there, Tim.
Morning, Dan. How are you?
Doing great, thank you. And streaming with a new camera this morning, so
nice.
Pretty psyched about that. Thank you.
Yeah,
and then we've got Danielle Mincy, who's the president of Fusion Funder and our resident expert. You probably won't like me saying that, but expert in terms of what's going on here in cryptocurrency, blockchain, and he's the co-founder of the Oxford Blockchain Group. So very enthused to have you, especially with what's been going on this week, Daniele.
Hey, thank you, Dan. Thank you, Tim. Great being here as always. You know, we don't know from where to start to talk about what happened, what is happening, and what is going to happen. But I think we always start from us because what we build, I think, is what really matters.
You know, Daniele, before we got on this call, you were talking and chatting about what happened this week and what's been going on. And I think we should just start out, just jump in and let's talk about this, and then we'll get into our agenda here. But I'm really fascinated. I know everybody else is, about your take on things.
Yeah, I mean, so we are very close to markets, and markets are markets. Whatever markets you're looking at, commodity markets, stock markets, you know, they're a sum of many, mostly irrational behavior. And there are tons of people trying to explain in very simple terms what happened. And I think no one really truly understands at the bottom what happens. What is evident is that those markets, I'm talking about now crypto, digital asset, whatever, so the markets we are very closer, they work with a higher velocity, number one, than other markets, and they work with exponential growth. So this means anything that happened, either good or bad, it's exponentially higher or lower, okay? So, and then just a tweet by a guy called Elon Musk. Probably some of
Who's
you
that?
have heard. It's just a guy that tweets sometimes about crypto, Dogecoin, meme coin, and whatever. You know, the whole industry somehow has given an opinion that a tweet by Elon has crashed. So Bitcoin and all cryptocurrency markets, so the digital asset market, because of his tweet. In reality, so there's a lot of things that happen at the same time. The reality to me is that so far, all these markets have been ultra leveraged. When you have ultra leverage, so 100x, 25x, 20x, anytime you experience a variation in price against your bet, then you collapsed. And if the open interest is going to one direction, so people were long on Bitcoin, and Bitcoin, because of the tweets and other stuff, moved in the opposite direction, the whole market has crashed. But mostly not because of the tweet, because of the leverage. Okay, so because the leverage in some exchanges, Binance, Huobi, Bybit, and there is a third one, I don't remember. It's insane. So it's really insane. And this is not the fault of the exchange themselves. I mean, exchange provide this as a product, but then people, you know, let's say overused the leverage. So long story short, right now, leverage has been decreased massively in the last couple of days. So I don't want to say lesson learned is that be careful with leverage. But I really hope that the open interest and the leverage positions as a whole will be lower over time, because at the end of the day, the price action and what's going on, the market cap of the overall market will reflect a little bit better the true value that the market is delivering, instead of having, you know, kind of toxic environment. That's, to me, the main, without going into details of specific stuff, but that's the main takeaway of this week.
Well, Daniele, just another thing that we had a guest on, Mark Smedley, who voiced his opinion about 30 days ago just about China. And I know that was a piece to this too, with the China ban, with what they're doing.
Well, and even more, there is something, in my view, very, very big that is happening right now, because you see US and China as a whole, and obviously this narrative about the environment, so the ESG, about Bitcoin or whatever, it sounds to me a narrative like to shift attention to green Bitcoin to take control of the mining industry. That is very, very big. And I don't want to say US want to take over from China, but the narrative is going to this direction. So, and it's interesting to see what's going on in the back, but it sounds to me more than a coincidence that more and more we're experiencing this.
Yeah, and we're gonna talk about proof of stake versus proof of work here in a little bit as well. And then just one piece that I just couldn't help but think about is that if you look at Ethereum's still up like over 1,300% in a year, and still over 340%. I don't know where it is today, but as of about a day ago. And just to keep perspective of what this market has done in the last year or two.
Well, I mean, if you look, I mean, I don't want to talk much about pricing, but
but
it's a metric. So pricing has mostly two components. It's a kind of, there is a fair value, which is somehow measured against the underlying tag, the business model, and the real usage of that token or coin, which is backed by either utility, backed by a real world asset, or whatever it is. So which is the fair value. And there is a second component, which is speculation. Okay. So if you take, for example, Dogecoin, it's purely speculation. There's no underlying value. There's no mining. There's no incentives in the back. There's no technology at all. It's just a fork of Bitcoin with almost no developer community. So in that case, the price of the Dogecoin that today is whatever, 30 cents, 40 cents, it's entirely the speculation element. So people step into this market thinking that it's easy to make money or to make kind of due diligence on where is the asset to bet on or to back up. So in reality is that anyone stepping into this has to spend, in my view, at least 100 hours of research and due diligence before buying or stepping into something.
Great. Well, with that, Tim, I know we've got a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about real assets, real utility, real wallets, and pretty excited to review this presentation that we're going to share with everybody here. So.
Exactly. I'm just getting a few things set up. So thanks for that conversation there, Daniele, and we can get into the meat of it with our presentation today. So I think it's really interesting and engaging that we saw this and we saw what happened in the markets this week. Let's go into what that actually means to all of us, and we'll go right here. And okay.
Love that, Daniele.
As always.
So as most people know, I always talk about business is digital and new markets plus digital business where you're in control. So business is digital, and what that means is, these market fluctuations are going to happen regardless. There is no way around the market fluctuations, and we're always going to see that. It's always been there. It will continue to be there, and it doesn't mean that this is a crypto market. It doesn't mean that it's going to be driven by tweets and things like that. These things affect the market. So reality is what we're looking at is a massive shift, and I think we can all agree on that. Like, this is a massive shift to digital. It's a massive shift to business, and it's a massive shift in our lives. And at the end of the day, this is all driven by cloud. So I always like to use the analogy of the gold rush, and the gold rush being Deanne, are we actually streaming? I'm not seeing us on there, but
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So the gold rush, during the gold rush days, and I was, before the pandemic, supposed to go hike the what's called the Chilkoot Trail, which is this, if you've ever seen the old picture of the hikers going up this mountainside in the winter, and those are all the miners going to get gold, like literally miners. And we talk a lot about miners, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the guys who sustained, built businesses, and actually made all the money were the guys who sold the picks and shovels. There were very few gold miners who actually made enough money even to live, much less to succeed in the mining business. So,
and Tim, most of them perished. Many of them perished. Yeah.
Most of them died in the wilderness and or came back penniless. And I look at the crypto market like that kind of a gold rush. And the reality is, we're about the picks and shovels. We're about business, and we say cloud power to the people. That's what the BCERT token is. We're the only cloud that's actually a SaaS company that's decentralized, where the business and token holders own the fundamentals, the picks and shovels. So when we say business is digital, we also say BlockCerts means business. We mean business. We're about the next generation of the cloud company and how it will be token holder owned and operated. Every token holder in at BlockCerts is a part of the community. Community is like, it can be a pop-up store. It can be an entire highs in a town. It can be the corner store. That's what community is. Think about what community actually means in the real world. That's where we've gotten to with the world of the internet. And so when we do that, there is this concept of well, there's something different here about the world. Well, what really is different is we're now creating these models in a completely digital format. And with the pandemic, we've actually seen these models emerge completely digitally, right? So the idea that a tweet like the Tesla Bitcoin tweet, we're concerned about the rapidly increased fossil fuels and so forth from Elon Musk, and Tesla will not be selling any Bitcoin, was met by Tim Draper's tweet and post that I found, which was, has anyone calculated the CO2 and those cars that were driving into the banks just for the staff and employees? Think about that. Talk about greenhouse gases, commuting by the thousands, the tens of thousands into these high-rise buildings that are consuming all of this electricity. It's a nonsensical argument. It's completely nonsensical. It doesn't fit with what actual reality is. And I think the tweet I loved the most this week was this one from Vitalik, which was, Elon Musk tweeting about crypto is new, of course. It will bring craziness. It does. It did. It kind of matches the personality. But I do think that the markets will learn. They will settle down. You can already see, Daniele, can't you, that Bitcoin's kind of balancing out around 38 to 40,000. Was probably pumped up a bit too high. You know, Ethereum's around 2,900, 3,000. That's really made a huge gain. And the gains have been significant. The gains are still there. We lost from the peak. Well, that happens in markets. Markets adjust. And Elon is not going to have this influence forever. All I have to say to that is, thank God.
No kidding. Well, Tim, how much energy does it take to actually create a battery-operated car?
Exactly.
Those batteries, massive amounts of energy.
Massive.
But
massive factories.
But if you think for a minute from the macro perspective, and you see that, big institutions are already in the game, and others and more will come over time, it will be a kind of a gold rush to get, these coins, this token at a fair price. What's happening, in my view right now, is that these guys, they don't buy when the whatever coin, so Ethereum, when it's 4,300, so at the whole time high. These guys, they don't buy this way. They buy the dip, or they buy when, all the coins are somehow smashing and crashing and the price is going down like a hell. They buy the bottom and then the price goes up. So it sounds to me, as it happens into any market, that all these news, the concentration of these, it's very strange. It's very unusual. I mean, it has been always like this in crypto since, at least I'm following since 5 years. But the fact that anything comes at the same time, it's a signal to me. So this means, I think, whatever people doing, it will be tough if you want to follow the market without building anything on top of it. It will be very tough for people not building, because they will be shaken out in all directions every single day.
Hey, Danielle, the most popular hashtag over the last 3 days has been hashtag buy the dip. So,
yeah.
So that's what the crypto community is saying out there. So kind of interesting.
Which I understand. I have friends of mine that for the first time ever, they send me messages saying, I want to buy Dogecoin. I want to buy Shiba Inu. So, and this is a signal that, retail mania, retail craze is there. And then what I'm telling to people always, I don't tell what to buy, which coin, whatever. I tell, let's spend 100 hours of research, and then you decide what to buy, if you want to buy something. I'm always saying like this.
Yep. Underlying value and fundamentals.
Yeah.
So I agree with all of that. And that kind of takes us to the next point, which is this idea of, let's look at what volatility and stability and value look like beyond the hype. Okay, so these charts I just picked this up because it was a great graphic of what the market looked like, and right down here is USDT Tether, and during that whole time frame, look what happened. This is what's known as a stable coin. So these are going crazy because of a tweet. Nothing happened here. This is pegged to the US dollar. It basically just floats around and kind of follows what that dollar currency is. So what that tells you when you look at something like this is hype versus stability and value. Why do these, quote, stable coins have a different chart? Why do they have a different experience for us? Well, here's the whole market kind of dropping like this, and here's all these other stable coins. Look, just flat lines, and the incremental change is very, very, very small. So what's that tell you? It tells you that there's a promise there of underlying value, right? Now, what's interesting, if you read between the lines on these, is to actually see what the volatility of those stable coins would be on a global scale. We would have to go look at the relationship of the US dollar on the FX markets to other currencies, right? Because it's not really the same, and it's not really flat. It's just flat in relation to that one thing, that one variable, which is the US dollar. So when we look at those kinds of things, and we look at the picks and shovels, and we look at what the idea is behind digital business, let's put the pieces together. And the pieces together look something like this. What if I were to go buy a Tesla with whatever? And what if I did that with a smart contract that was working for that business? And what if I did it from my digital wallet, and it didn't matter what currency I used. And finally, what if that transaction eliminated any other kind of mining? It was mined by the actual business, and the tools and the compute power were already expending as we are right now. So as soon as I sign that transaction and I hash to the blockchain, I create a block. I'm able to create that block because I am validated to create that block with a KYC. I have the ability to create that block because I have a wallet and I'm an authenticated buyer, and I created it through all of this transaction of buying a car. So we talk about these obscure things like proof of work. Hey, guess what? That's the work we do. That is work.
That's proof.
There's a salesman there selling me that car. There's a manufacturer called Tesla that wants to sell me that car. I'm a buyer. I want to buy that car. That's work. That's value transfer. And that creates the blocks on the BCERT blockchain. That's how blockchain works. Now, why is that important? Because now I bought this one of a kind, maybe, or this limited edition vehicle. Guess what? If it's limited edition, and it's, as many of you should be watching, we're releasing a supercar driven thing.
That's right.
Some very, very cool cars. And that line of title for that vehicle is now documented on the blockchain. And when we do that, we now can track that NFTs. So when you put all the pieces together, this makes complete sense. And oh, by the way, everything is more efficient. We can do it from anywhere, so we can reduce the commuting. We can authenticate transactions and people, so we can reduce the reduction of fraud. We can list all the titles. We can handle all the contracts, and we don't have a lot of the same similar problems that we've had in the world of the internet. And once we do that, you're in control. That's what DApps are that we talk about. D stands for decentralized, ID certain. We know who's doing the transaction. Therefore, they are proof of authentication to create a true block. And there's no servers out there other than the ones we're already using to do all of that stuff. Makes more sense than email, doesn't it, Dan?
It definitely does. Well, it reduces risks, as we know. Huge risks.
That's right. So at the end of the day, when we look at these kinds of things, of what we're actually doing and distributing and things like that, we actually are doing it through a wallet. And that wallet is what we're looking at with a different UI right now, which is a way to transact business through any business. And this is called IAM, and we're going to get into that in a moment. So I'm just going to go ahead and open my wallet with my team BCERTs, and now I am authenticated. There I am. I've been authenticated. I've gone through the KYC process, and I have all of my wallets, all of my cards, all of my transactions, and with a scan of this, I can authenticate everything. I can sign a document, I can buy a car, I can buy a house, I can get a mortgage, I can get a loan, I can authenticate every asset, and interestingly enough, I can have discussions about it, I can do video on it, I can do transfers, I can do everything I need to do and want to do from my wallet. We do it right there. We do it all the time. We actually build and use technology that drives transactions, real business, drives hashes, and authenticates everything from the minute a transaction starts. That is the effect of a blockchain based. Speaking of the functionality of the wallet, and I heard you talking about it. I talked about one example, but let's talk about really the problems of the internet. And let's see if we think now that has stability and value, because we were talking about what stability and value is versus speculation. So do we think that the idea of a digital wallet and IAM, in integrated access management. Remember, I showed you that IAM ledger there when we got into this wallet. As soon as we got in, the SolarWinds hack happened around December, January. And this was a huge hack against the US government. And it says, well, it will not be the last of its kind. Focusing on what it was not can help ensure effective preventive measures are implemented. That's integrated access management. Right. The first thing we need to know about digital and understand about digital, crypto wallets or actual business and work, is that we are vulnerable to these kinds of attacks. And so what we learned there, or what was apparent there, is it posed a risk right here to API keys and IAM identities. That's how it happened. So this wallet, if all it did was identify somebody and say, that's actually Dan, that's Daniele, that's Tim, and yeah, they have access to this area, that wouldn't happen. Or it would it'd be much more difficult for it to happen. Let's say it that way. Okay? So the reality of the SolarWinds reckoning, as they say, of the US government and private enterprise is that these state-sponsored attacks and things like that are going to happen. Misinformation's going to happen. We've talked about deep fake videos. We've talked about all kinds of identity-based issues, not the least of which is right now fraudulent COVID tests, fraudulent vaccines, and things like that happening, and the idea that we're all going to need a COVID test or an EHR, electronic health record visa. We're going to need that. So watch at BCERT for the EHR Visa coming out, where in your wallet, you now have privacy, you have security, and you have everything you need, just like your physical wallet, and you're standing right there. Okay? The idea being that the other types of attacks, like we saw with this last week, was the Colonial Pipeline that paid $4.4 million to a ransom gang after the attack. Okay? Again, attacks are going to continue to happen. They're going to continue to be part of our lives, and the statistics are pretty staggering.
Yeah. Worst year ever, right, Tim?
Worst year ever. Yeah. 3,950. Dan, you actually did these stats. Why don't you talk about this and explain?
I did. Yeah, and these are just the number that were reported. So 3,950 actual data breaches that were reported in 2020. And of that, it was the worst year on record, with over 36 billion records that were exposed, which is an all-time record. You don't ever want to be the company with the worst exposure, and Yahoo takes the cake for the worst exposure a few years ago. There's a 58% increase in the confirmed healthcare breaches, and the reason for that is we're all on lockdown, COVID becoming very important, and where are they going to attack? They're attacking your homes, they're attacking healthcare, just some scary data there. And of that, from the average attack, over $3.8 million is the cost that, or price tag for a company that gets attacked. And the average cost is $150 per person who is exposed. So if you have, 1,000, 1 million, however many clients, and at $150 a pop, it can put a business out of business. So, and then the last statistic is something that businesses don't think of, but every time you're sending an email, you're sending a link, and that link is shared with others, and that link has the ability for exposure. And companies are exposing their data and their information via emails and email hacks. And the latest statistic by Pokemon Institute was that 90% of companies have had breaches from exposed links. So there's a reason why you need IAM. There's a reason why you need upfront multi-factor authentication as your bridge into your business.
And that really defines what this idea of private public keys are. And inside the wallet, and every BCERT token holder actually becomes identified and authenticated in that sense of being who they are and providing that information up front. And then it's private. We can identify and de-identify, but we know who Daniele is by a 64-digit alphanumeric code. And that doesn't look much like Daniele, but
unfortunately not. kind of
a little slightly.
Yeah,
but that is what gives us the opportunity to create real, safe, secure business. And so when we talk about the picks and shovels, we talk about that. We talk about this idea of authentication and this idea of multi-factor authentication.
Tim, so here there is a very important point in my view to remarks, because in crypto or in digital assets, so people thinking about decentralized finance, non-custodial, censorship resistant, and all this stuff. So what you just shown here, so the importance of KYC, obviously this is a kind of a model, we call it B2B2B, B2B2C, sorry, business to business to consumer. So there are some businesses that definitely need to pass a KYC activity because of their compliance that they have to ensure to stay on business because they are in a sensitive industry. Say, for example, banking, financial industry, healthcare. So they have to do some checks in order to allow, for example, the service or a certain product. So once we say KYC, it doesn't mean that anyone that wants to interact with us and with our business have to be KYC, even if we're running a non-custodial business, for example, a decentralized finance protocol. Here, we definitely pointed out the need for businesses that will plug their business model to our technology. They can leverage the fact that we have a KYC-ready solution that they can activate anytime in a very, very frictionless manner. There might be other businesses that are DeFi-like businesses for which KYC is not needed. In that case, they will have a kind of a wallet with a non-custodial solution without the need of a KYC because the token itself will be the mean of authentication. So it depends very much on the business models.
Great point, Daniele.
That's right. And so when I come in, and I'm going to go back to that, I'm going to show you how we use integrated access management and do all of that to authenticate right here on our live beta wallet. This is our version 2. We've created many of these. Now assume I'm going in as a developer, as a customer, as a whatever, as an employee or a customer, you know who I am, right? If I'm going in to trade my tokens, you know who I am. So literally, when we say you're in control, you really are in control. And there I am inside the wallet. When I come over here, I've got lots of options, including this additional layer of authentication, which we use the Google Authenticator app. And within that Authenticator app, if I enable 2FA, I just download that, I'm going to have a random code generated. So you've heard us talk about multi-factor authentication. I'm going on my device here. I'm going to open up my Authenticator app, and I'm going to look for a number. And I get a random number that's expiring right now. So let it expire. And I do this. And I think many people have already done this with their bank apps and so forth. And this is the idea of being able to be literally more secure than the banks. I'm now authenticated. Now, from my mobile device, I can also open up a complete digital experience and a wallet and everything here. I can open it there. I've got multi-factor authentication, and I actually will be biometrically controlled on my computer, on my device, on my desktop with authentication, and you know it's me. Now you'll know if I signed a document.
Yeah, how's that for a smart contract?
And that's just identification.
Right.
So if anybody wonders why it took a long time to lift all those picks and shovels and carry them up to the mountainside so all those miners could buy them and go off and try and get gold, that's why. It took a long time to build the inventory, but the inventory is here right now, and we're really excited about that. And literally, I can go anywhere. I can switch instances. I can work with anybody. And because of that authentication on the BCERT blockchain, you always know it's Tim, not just my picture.
Can I explain the difference between this one and a non-custodial wallet like MetaMask?
Please do.
So there are people, obviously, that are more experienced that are using a so-called hot wallet. You know, they have Trust Wallet, they have MetaMask, and they have, you know, Binance Smart Wallet. There are many like this. And all of them behave the same. So essentially, you have to enter a seed phrase, which is usually composed by 12 words that you have to store safely in a paper mode somewhere. Plus, you have to enable a password. But the common fraud technique to hack a MetaMask account is you go in a Telegram group of a coin you're following. You just raise a question to the admin, and then you get a guy, which is impersonating the admin, that is telling you, hey, I'm fixing your problem. And then you have to connect your wallet to this address. They send you a link, and then you go there, and they ask you the seed phrase and the password. So they hack your wallet, and then they're in control of your coins. Very, very simply. Why?
Right.
If you have a two-factor, a multi-factor authentication, this means anytime you use the wallet, you have to go to Google Authenticator. So only you and only you can have this, because no one else can get this, because you authenticated once and no one else can use it like this.
And in addition to that, Daniele, we've linked it to the web. We've linked it to your wallet. We've linked it to your device. We've linked it to your thumb, your face. We've linked all of this together. And I want to point out something really important here. That's cool that we did all of that. It's cool. I mean, I freak out. Like our guys who built this, I freak out. I'm like, guys, that's so cool. And you know, full disclosure, I was struggling so I could get you guys the new UI just now. So I could get you guys this because I wanted you to see it's real. You're in control. I think that's cool. Guess what? It's a wallet. What can you do with your wallet when you go to the store? You can buy things. That's it. Those things are all manufactured all over the world. You might be buying food. You might be buying a car. That's the real work. And we've built that too. That's the big difference. A wallet is a wallet. And this is a very powerful one. A blockchain is the rails for digital business. BCERT is a very powerful one. But when it comes down to it, and I've used this so many times, do you care how Netflix streams video? You just care that you can watch the show. You can engage. And BCERT means business. It means you can engage in business, and all these things you hear about, which are complaints about power or, you know, volatility or whatever, business goes on, life goes on, and we make that happen at BCERT. That's what we're about. That's the difference. Capital markets and things like that are going to shift. Companies are going to come and go. New companies are going to start up, right, Danielle? You deal with it every day. And new business models are going to come in, and they're going to need capital. All of that kind of stuff is the big change. That's the fundamental change. That's the change that's come in the internet, and we are leading that change at BCERT. That's the
well, and
big
also, Tim, we've taken something that's very complex, and to what you were stating about Netflix, compression technology, very complex, but you just want to be able to click the button, just like what BCERT has done. We're the windows of blockchain. We've taken applications, simplified them, whereas in Ethereum, you need a developer to do a smart contract.
Right.
You don't want to hire a developer to do a contract. You want to be able to click, upload.
You don't even want to hire a lawyer to do a contract.
No, you want to do it yourself.
You just want to go.
We've simplified that entire process. So
exactly, and that's the whole idea of it. Netflix took 15 years to get where they were, to where they are today. So what everybody go back and think about that. If you knew about what Netflix did and all that complexity, or Amazon for that matter, and all that complexity, and you could teleport back 15 years ago, and you knew you were coming right back to where we are today, what would you do? What would you do? That's what you need to think about. That's the market and the shift we're in. And Dan, you say it all the time. It's the beginning of the internet, and it's different than the beginning of the internet because the internet started, and about 10 years later, it started to get use cases called websites and little e-commerce stores selling books and things and marketing, so you could go to the video store. And then it evolved from there. That's really where the market's at. So the reality of what we believe is this is very much like the big shift. And that's why we call this pirate SaaS. And I love the statement. It is a blessing for a man to have a hand in determining his own fate. And I apologize about the gender specific, but I didn't say that. Blackbird did. And so it's a person, and you're in control. And I love this statement when there's actually a great, speaking of Netflix, there's a documentary on pirates right now. So there's a little plug for the Netflix documentary. And as all you guys know, I'm a sailor. So I've read a lot about pirates and how the New World was discovered and things. But Black Sam Bellamy, who's actually in that Netflix series, became the wealthiest pirate in history, not because of greed, but because of anger at the English system that exploited poor country boys and sailors like him. Sound familiar?
Sounds familiar.
Sound familiar? Like, that's what the idea of decentralizing means. That's what the idea means, of taking the SaaS and decentralizing it, breaking it apart, giving value back to the organizations that take all this value from us and give us very little back, or give us not validated signatures or not secure instant messaging and not control of our data. And here's another chart for you that starts telling you about the billions and billions of revenue reported. Zoom, 455 million in revenue reported in the first quarter. This actually might be in millions. So it's just astounding the amount of revenue that we see. And all of that is the second part of what BCERT was built with. Behind that wallet, this is really what it looks like. And we talk about the digital dozen, and that's where work and business happen. And that's the DApp layer. That's the fundamental. That's the picks and shovels. That's what everybody needs to use to run their business. Everything from the Flare certain security layer that wrappers things all the way up to marketing and shopping and health and teams and knowing who's getting into your business. And I am certain, which is really cool. And I showed you a little sneak preview of that in the wallet, which you're going to have this IM instantly in there, full security, full tracking. The logs are all there. you always know what's said. You know who's saying it. I am certain. Isn't that kind of cool to be able to say, I am certain? And that's why we call this whole stack Be Certain. Because you can be certain about what's going on in the business. And that's really what the fundamentals of blockchain was about. So with that, I just kind of want to wrap up by talking about the impact of a green chain and a green blockchain. And that when you're powering kind of these green initiatives, you're reaching beyond this. This is what everybody's talking about. These giant server farms that their entire purpose is to mine transactions. And by mining transactions, these tokens are created, these blocks are created, these Bitcoins are created, and it takes a tremendous amount of resource and power to do that. Or we could just do this, which is what BCERT did. Sustainable, secure, and stable. We do it every day. You mine data as a user every single day. The difference is it's not actually adding value to authenticity. It's not actually adding value to your control, your privacy. It's taking value away. So when you're adding value to the organization, centralized organizations that control that data. When we flip the model on its head, we're doing the same things and we're able to innovate and we're able to create a bigger footprint and ecosystem or a sustainable and secure environment. And it all starts, and that's why we're so excited about this. It all starts right there with that wallet. And inside that wallet, when you go to use this, you download it and you click and you're like, which one of those tools do I want to use? Do I just want to be authenticated so I'm protecting my identity? Fine. For one small portion of a BCERT token, you can do that. Pennies. Is that worth your identity? What was the cost to an average corporation, Dan, of a data breach?
3.28 million.
3.2.
There's a toxic narrative team in the market when it comes down to hashing power of proof of work blockchain like Bitcoin. So if you ask to the average user, what is the price of Bitcoin? Mostly all the average user will answer to you kind of in real time. Then if you ask what is the hash power, not all of them will answer. But if you ask some, if there's any relationship between the hash power and the price, most will tell you yes. So people feel that the more hash power you have, so the more electricity you consume, the more secure the network is. Well, most of the hash power in the Bitcoin network is not really needed. So Bitcoin can really work with 90% less than hash power. Essentially, the hash power, it's mostly kind of a barrier to avoid a 51% attack on the network. So, but if you might not have the incentive to do so because of the way the blockchain has been working. So that's why, to me, and I would like to shoot kind of a webinar, one of the next one, to really deep dive into the mining KPIs and explaining the difference from a very intense proof of work like in the Bitcoin, what are all the metrics that really matter versus what are the metrics that really matter in our business and in the hash power of our business.
Exactly. And that's what we'll be doing in the world from here. We're going to talk really about the world from here and what the world looks like in a decentralized community. And we're announcing today that BCERT.io is open. It's live. You will be able to go visit BCERT.io and I believe register for the beta wallet, right, Dan?
That's correct, Tim.
And we're talking about what our business model is, what the business model of building your own digital cloud business actually is. We're talking about what NFTs actually mean and what BCERT NFT models mean in authentication of digital assets, on bringing these very unique business models and real opportunities of digitizing business to the world and securing that opportunity. We're talking about DeFi for business and the swaps and what DeFi means in business really, and NFT for IP, internet and intellectual property rights, because all of those things are real fundamental issues in the world today. And we have your BCERT wallets that we showed you. We've got the Microsoft release. We've got a Mac build ready to go, and that will be done for all of you Mac users out there. We've got mobile, Android, and iOS. All of that, if you're part of the beta group, you'll start getting an announcement in the next week or two about where you can download these and how you can get access. And we talk about our BCERT token and what really wrapping that BCERT token into that larger kind of crypto or DeFi community that Daniele always talks about. We talk about what wrapping actually means. So there's a lot to learn here. As Dan said, we've pushed really hard to make this a streamlined platform that is completely usable by anybody who owns just one BCERT token. And that means globally, worldwide. I was on a call yesterday with about 20, 25 people from Africa and business leaders and everything, looking at what we could do in Africa and how we can change pricing models. Guess what? A $40,000 Bitcoin is absolutely worthless other than the $40,000, and nobody in Africa can use it for anything. But for 99 cents in a month or less, you can actually get a BCERT token, go to work. You can run your small side stand there. You can authenticate yourself, authenticate your products. With our platform, you guys are seeing it now. You can actually record, where did those vegetables come from, or those coffee beans, or whatever. You can record that, and we can create this distributed supply chain. That's where the world's at. And we can show how the token of utility and wrapping that utility into these new markets actually works. Right, Daniele?
Absolutely. And when Dan was saying before, when there's a lot of buy the dip, instead of focusing too much on the price of Bitcoin, you can build something and use the token as a mean to build your own business.
That's right. That's right. And that's the idea, and some pretty amazing ideas that you're coming up with Fusion Funder. And I'm not going to do any spoiler alerts. Don't worry. But
no.
Yeah. Really cool ideas of how businesses can actually build in this new environment and what those real companies, cloud utilities are. And there are tons of rewards. There's tons of ways of doing it. Yesterday, I was on a FinTech council, and I heard about the loyalty guys and some loyalty reward point companies, large ones, very large ones, saying, well, really, we've always been a digital currency of sorts, right? And that's exactly true. This idea of business rewards has been around for a very long time. So we've simply at BCERT, as Dan says, taken this complex world and simplified it. Why do we do that? Because it needed to be done. Because it needed to be done. Somebody's got to get out there and give cloud power to the people. So with all of this value stack that's operational now, that you can actually get into this market right now with anything here. Again, even if it's IDing yourself and protecting your identity. And there's lots of companies that protect things out there with operable platforms that you pay for, like LastPass is one, right? And you can start securing the things that are your identity in your way, in your wallet, in your container, and that actually gets you to be in control. So with literally every action, every transaction, anywhere, you're authenticated and it's game on. So that's really what we wanted to introduce today. Join our beta group. Go visit us at bcert.io. If our page on joining our beta group doesn't come right up, it will. We're pushing literally to get a lot of this done until late in the night and wee hours of the morning today, so that we could make a great presentation for everybody today. And hopefully we've done that. Hopefully we have secured your interest in what the future is, and we've gotten you beyond the tweets, and we've gotten you beyond the speculation and all of that hype, and we've gotten you into what long-term stability and value is. Interestingly, join us on our Telegram channel, join us on Reddit now. I think we've got a Reddit channel coming up. And we will post those links in the YouTube channel here, so you can actually join us. And if you look at, again, where that quote from Vitalik came from, and you look at how calm he is as a guy who just became a billionaire and lost about $1 billion in the last few days. And he's like, yeah, you know what? He's probably thinking, I couldn't have spent all that money anyway, and it's all going to come back. And so there's some interesting things happening, which are sentiment analysis and so forth. Everybody I've talked to in the space, from the fintech group to the channels I'm on, to people who understand this, are extremely bullish on the future of Web 3.0 and extremely bullish on decentralization. That's the bottom line. That's the real story today. And the real story that you just saw, you saw it here first, is live version 2 with a wallet connected to all that functionality, a very powerful wallet connected to all that functionality we've been working on for well over a decade. So that's why I'm super excited today.
Very pumped. And Tim, if you are a token holder, you'll be receiving an email with that link as well. Just asking you to join and to download your wallet and to become a part of this. And also, if you have any questions, we'll have information there of where you can go to get your questions answered.
And I do want to point out that because we're releasing this to beta, it's invitation only, or you're already a token holder. So by the time we release that, this will not be just blast out there. If you can tell, we're very methodical about what we do. We want to provide real stuff on BCERT's, BCERT.io. That's BCERT.io. You'll be able to get the white paper, and you'll find out about our philosophy, and you'll be able to get into all this technology. But this is going to be a limited invitation only beta, because and you'll have an opportunity to get a few invites and invite your friends and things as a token holder, but you will not, we're not just going to blast this out there. We're going to be very methodical, because this is real business. This is about real business, and BCERT means business. So with that, we're out of time. I'd like to say thank you, everybody, for spending your Friday. This is one of the best parts of all of our week here. We're going to have some really interesting guest speakers coming up and talking about their philosophy on this new market. We've got a financial sciences expert coming up. We've got some other very interesting people coming up about NFTs, and some really fun stuff coming up too. So you don't want to miss this on Fridays. It's going to get really interesting from here in the world from here.
It is. Thanks.
That, I'm going to say, stay safe, stay healthy, get your digital wallet at blockcerts.com, because that's where the world's headed.
That's where the world's spinning. Okay. Thank you, Tim. Thank you very much, Daniele. Have a great week, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Have a great week.
Great weekend.
Great weekend.
Oh, and Daniele, have a nice, a good birthday, right? This weekend?
Yeah, this weekend, but we'll celebrate next Friday.
Happy birthday.
Okay.
Say happy birthday to Daniele in the chat down below.
Yeah.
Let's see how many happy birthdays you get.
Yeah.
Well, just a few.